So you said your wife is Buddhist and you're Muslim. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: does those two different backgrounds play a big part in the way you're raising your kid? Are you guys traditionalists? Or are you guys more of like, we're gonna figure this out together, and push and pull type thing, where there's no strict lines? It's just like our kid is gonna determine how we raise them up.
It's a very interesting question because even though my wife's Buddhist, her culture, both our cultures grew up eating pork. I don't eat pork. She randomly does it, and we have rules and guidelines between us both when she does engage in having pork, But I don't try to influence my kid on what they should be doing.
Okay.
I'm not gonna force my kid to fast.
Yeah.
One, they're too young, and two, that's something on their own. I want them to come to the realization. I don't want to train a child to listen and obey rules. I want to cultivate a kid to think for themselves.
Yes, of course.
So
I love that. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Jayton Gunter, owner of Grapes and Sand Publishing, and we have another episode of Drinking with Dads. This is a show where I give fathers their flowers. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Drinking with Dads. I am your host, Jayton Gunter, also owner of Grapes and Sand Publishing. And I cannot wait to get into this with this father here. I've known him forever. Today, we have a really cool dude named Kameron Collins. I've known him for over 20 years. He's one of the first people that when I thought that I was going to be a father, I was like, I need to talk to Cam. Cam tends to be on top of things better than most people. It's just one of those things about him. I know he probably is like, wait, you think that of me? But that's how I've always felt about you. You've always been on top of stuff, even when we were in school. And so I wanted to ask him some questions, so we're going to do that. Before we do, this is Drinking with Dad, so just so you see what we have in our glass, where we are drinking we're drinking green tea, matcha, and he has the daddy sippy cup, of course, because he's the guest. And so Cam, tell everybody, say hi, hey to everybody so they can hear your voice.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me aboard this wonderful podcast. Yes, I've known you for a very long time. I can't recall how long it's been. I'm surprised you think so highly of me as a dad, and I'm not always on it. I learn from others, and even though people think they're learning from me, I learn from the people that I'm communicating with, in a sense. And so it's kind of like each one teach one. And you're right on certain aspects of being a father. There is just not even minority dads. There's not a lot of outlets that new dads realize that are out there, and like yourself having a podcast, or various folks having like a safe space for a group chat for fathers to have these questions that they're afraid to ask other fathers or other people because they aren't aware of who to ask.
Or sometimes our pride and ego get in the way when we don't like to, guys.
That is also a thing. So kudos to you for creating a platform for dads to share their stories and experiences. Appreciate
it. I toast to you being here, man. I appreciate you coming. Cheers. So he was one of the first people when I became a dad to reach out to me. That was another reason too. I really appreciate that, man. Like you checked up on me, and even when I was giving you short answers about stuff, you're like, no, tell me how you're doing. Are you doing okay? Because I'm just used to doing everything by myself. I'm not used to asking for help or whatever, or even tapping in with anybody when I have issues or I'm thinking something. And you just reaching out randomly just to check in with me, I do appreciate that too, for real.
Yeah, it wasn't random. Once I found out you were going to be a father, I took the onus upon myself, not only as a black man, but as a mutual father, and I wanted you to be as comfortable as you can be, and feel free to have those. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You're not alone. As cliche as it may seem, again, I just feel like it's my somewhat responsibility to make sure we're on the same page and we're growing as fathers. And making sure we're doing the things the correct way, where we don't repeat the sins of our elders.
Got you. With that being said, I have my first question for you. What was the last gift you got for Father's Day that you can remember?
I mean, I've only been in the game as a father for 3 years, so it's not that far-fetched to remember that. However, I will add some context about this question.
Okay.
Father's Day is the last 3 years has been a little weird in the sense that I grew up in a single-parent home. So my association with Father's Day is a little bit more distant than others.
Got you.
So my first Father's Day gift was, in essence, not a gift, but just a realization. We made it 1 year as new parents.
A milestone.
A milestone for ourselves to say, okay, I made it. Because I don't think I got asked what I want for Father's Day. It was just more we were relieved that we
made it.
Every year.
I feel that.
And then as the next 2 years progressed, I think my daughter, she made me something at daycare. That was my Father's Day gift. It wasn't a tie or anything. She's 3, so she's like drawing something that was encouraged by the staff. And so I hung it up on the wall. And I think it was her standing next to one of her good friends and like, Happy Father's Day. Oh, actually too, when I went to go pick her up that day, they had a little photo thing set up, a little backdrop. And so when I got there, they was like, you want to take a picture with your daughter? So I took a picture. They sent it to me. That's my gift.
Got you. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
So it's creative too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's creative. But as far as like Father's Day gift, it's still, for me, it's a little bit, I'm trying to figure the right word. It's more of me not being awkward around it. Because I didn't grow up with a dad, and like that whole Father's Day is so, like when I hear people say I'm doing something for my Father's Day, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
Mother's Day is different.
Yeah, of course.
So for me, because I grew up mainly with my mom, but I never knew my dad, and it wasn't because he was a deadbeat or anything. He just passed away before I was born.
Got you.
So again, that whole Father's Day is something I am growing accustomed to, being a new dad, and also being a new dad is, I don't want to say falling in love, but being pumped on certain custom American traditions, like Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't really celebrate too many holidays. I'm a Muslim, so there's only so many things I celebrate within my own culture. But as far as like Christmas, Easter, and all that, I don't really fall in line. Now, if my kid comes home and says they want a Christmas tree, cool, I'm not going to be Grinch.
Of course.
They're not at that age to be educating them on certain things. I'll get the Christmas tree, set up some lights, get them presents, blah, blah, blah. But it's not something we traditionally celebrate. With that said, I do find myself now, like, getting pumped up to dress up with my daughter and like, oh, let's do something.
Let's do something together.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily a big, like, Halloween is one of those things that I'm like, oh yeah, I can dress up, whatever, it's fun, right? But I'm not like, yo, we got to celebrate Halloween every year. We got to celebrate Easter every year. Like, we're not a household that, my wife's Buddhist.
Yeah.
So it's like, we
Muslim and Buddhist, that's definitely,
So it's kind of like one of those things where like certain things have been brought back that I used to be pumped on. Like Halloween was a thing for me. And so I'm kind of like, I'm encouraged to
try some stuff out.
Dress up with my daughter, see her light up. She's into Christmas lights. She's not necessarily into Christmas. I don't think she understands that. Maybe daycare's teaching her that. But I do find myself being reintroduced to things that I grew up doing as a kid that I was super pumped up about. And it's cool to kind of rekindle that fire with your kids.
I can see that. Stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back. I just released a new show called Drinkin with Dads, and this is a platform where I give fathers their flowers. I have some merch to back that up. So if you have a wonderful father in your life, or you're looking for some cool father gear for yourself, go to my online store, fruitandglassgear.etsy.com, and check out what we got there. Cheers. Now back to the show. So you have one child.
One child.
Okay. Did you always know did you always want to be a father? Or was this something that was just like, you know what?
Being a father, I was like cool with it or not cool with it.
Okay.
Before I met my wife, I was with women who I was dating for a while, and things maybe were looking to get serious, they didn't want kids. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel that.
Even at my wedding, I think my auntie was surprised that I got married, because I was always globetrotting and doing things on my own. Because again, I grew up in a single parent household, and I learned quick. I'm from the era where your mom had to go to work. I'm at the house. Don't open the door. Here's
latchkey.
Yeah, latchkey kid.
Yeah.
Here's pizza money. I knew how to entertain myself. I knew how to do things on my own, and that the way of living or lifestyle translated until my adult years, and even now until I got married. You know, that again, getting married, then the whole flip. You're like, hey, I'm not by myself anymore. You can't move without communicating.
Yeah,
but that's another nuanced story that we can get into later. But again, did I know I want kids? If the timing or the situation is right, yeah, I was down for it.
It's so funny. I always, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I always saw you as a father. I always saw you as being a really good father. Like, I don't know what it is. Some of my friends, it's just kind of in them. And I remember being in college and like we'd all just be hanging out and stuff. And just sometimes when we'd have these deep conversations, there's certain people that I'd be like, oh, he's gonna be a hell of a father one of these days. And you were one of those people. And I'd be like, yo, one of these days, this dude's gonna be a hell of a father if he does have kids.
I mean, I appreciate that. I'm glad you told me that now, because I mean, like, again, the response, like, again, having a kid. One of the things my mom used to tell me when I was out there in the streets, quote unquote, was like, don't make me a grandma before.
Sound like my mom.
Yeah, but it was in essence trying to communicate, like, get your act together, go to college. Because going to college for a black household, black family is like huge.
Yeah.
And in my family, not a lot of people graduated college, or alone attending college. So my mom was like, make sure you got your priorities in order the best way she could. And so, you know, I graduated college. I had no plans of attending school for higher education, and got on the real world. Was doing film at the time, and then my mom was a little bit more relaxed about it. She was like, in essence, she was like, mission accomplished for her.
She said, "That's it. I did what I needed to do." Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a parent, she's never gonna stop being a parent,
of course.
But that was more the thing she was concerned about, just making sure I got my degree. Before I messed around, because she saw the pitfalls and perils of my neighborhood. And not to say it was bad, but she just was like, I know you can do better.
Where are you from?
Well, I was raised in LA Compton area. So, and growing up in high school there, you know, we have a lot of folks that, and it's not necessarily a bad thing that they didn't leave their neighborhood or they had kids before they were ready to have kids. My mom wanted to make sure that I wasn't trapped in a situation where I couldn't get my situation straight, education wise, financially, and see the world, and not miss on those important early years of my life.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, I do sometimes look back and was wondering if I had a kid at 20, my kid would be an adult.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, be an adult and you be, you know,
hang out.
Wow out.
Yeah.
So you said your wife is Buddhist and you're Muslim. Let me ask you this: does those two different backgrounds play a big part in the way you're raising your kid? Are you guys traditionalists? Or are you guys more of like, we're gonna figure this out together, and, you know, push and pull type thing, where there's no strict lines? It's just like, our kid is gonna determine how we raise them up.
It's a very interesting question, because even though my wife's Buddhist, her culture, I mean, both our cultures grew up eating pork. I don't eat pork. She randomly does it, and we have rules and guidelines between us both when she does engage in having pork, you know. But I don't try to influence my kid on what they should be doing. Okay. I'm not gonna force my kid to fast. Yeah. You know, one, they're too young, but two, like, that's something on their own. I want them to come to the realization. I don't want to train a child to listen and obey rules. I want to cultivate a kid to think for themselves.
Yes, of course.
So
I love that.
You're asking me, how do we approach it? We have to talk about things and come to a consensus agreement, because if there's dissonance between the way you guys approach, then there's going to be problems trying to communicate values and traditions and culture, right? And it's important to have those conversations with your partner about the plan of how you try to raise a newborn, a human.
Of course.
And you trying to raise them right. That's your legacy, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have or your status. It's the values that you instill in your young adult or young person, excuse me, and how they raise right, because they're going to be a representation of you guys.
Of course,
right? I know you're familiar. You know, when you as a kid you go to somebody's house, and your parents may or may not have said, "Don't be asking for people. Don't be asking for food."
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big thing because the prestige was like, it looks like they don't feed their child.
Exactly, makes them look horrible. My mom used to be on my.
Yeah. However, the guests were just being gracious enough to offer us food.
Food, yeah.
Kids are gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm hungry. I'll eat anything."
My mom said, if they offer you, say no.
Yeah.
Always on my.
So there's that whole nuanced conversation. But getting back to your original point, there are values like, again, I'm not gonna, when my child eats pork, I'm not gonna say, "Don't eat that."
Yeah.
If you want to eat pork,
let them make their decision.
If she sees me praying during the praying anytime, but especially during the month of Ramadan, she's like crawling on me, you know, or she wants to understand what's going on, I can explain to her as a 3-year-old, respectively, and tell her what Dad's doing. However, I'm not enforcing any of my cultural traditions upon her, and especially at this age, when, again, like I said, a whole holiday. I don't celebrate the holidays, but I'm not going to take that joy away from them.
If she may, yes, I get it.
At a certain age.
Yeah.
When they get a little bit older, a little bit more savvy about information,
then I'll give them information.
I'll give them the information, and I'll let them decide on their own what path they try to follow. My wife is the same way. Like, you know, curse words. Like, do you allow your kids to curse? At a young age, no, because it just does not look good. The opposite does not look good. But at the same time, they're just words.
Yeah,
we give them meaning. They're gonna hear these words
in either
conversation. You know, and you don't want to like block it. You want to expose them to things, but in the way that you fashion it, where you know you're encouraging them to understand and learn about things. You know, you don't want them to just follow the orders of the parent. It's not a hierarchy.
Exactly.
Obviously, the parenting style. There's like a couple different parenting styles. I'm kind of like somewhat authoritative, but playful.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, some parents are more like playful, open, and engaged, and some people are just like dictatorship.
See, you know, it's funny you say that. So let's go back to college really quick. I remember being in college, and you could always tell the kids that were sheltered, were very overbearing and disciplinarians, because soon as they got to college, they lost their mind. I don't know of any kid that we had in college that parents were super strict, that did not wild out when they got to college. And I've always been like, if I ever have a kid, I'm going to, of course, there's going to be some parameters. Of course, there's going to be some discipline, but I'm going to give them some freedom to, you know, become who they want to become, freedom to kind of be in the world and understand what's going on and follow the path they want to follow. Of course, with me giving advice when needed. Because I didn't want to be overbearing, because I just saw it too much. And my father, my dad's a preacher, you would think that he would be overbearing, but he really wasn't. He was very, my mother actually wanted us to be more, she wanted to be a little bit more strict, but my dad was like, they're men, they have to figure this out. So my dad, we had no curfew in high school. We had freedom to come in whenever we came in. Now, if it was too late, of course, he'd have a conversation with us, but he wasn't trying to restrict us so much in high school. Now, mind you, probably should have, because of the stuff we were getting into in high school. But I'll tell you, when I got to college, I wasn't wilding out so much because I had already had some freedom in high school. I think the kids that did not have freedom in high school, for example, one of my best friends, I'm not going to say his name on camera, but one of my best friends that I knew all the way through college and still tight with, his parents were very overbearing. And he got in college and just went crazy and got into all types of craziness. And I mean, boys and girls are doing it. So it's just something that I was thinking about when you were talking. I was like, that makes sense to me. That you want to be a little bit more of, you want to have the parameters there, but you want your kid to figure out who they are and give advice when needed.
Let me add on to that. You said a little interesting tidbit. You mentioned we were boys, brought gender involved. Depending on the gender of your child, you can be more sensitive or lax, I think.
Okay.
So yes, I think a mutual consensus is like a lot of kids our age or a little bit younger or older will say an overbearing parent sometimes is not a good thing, right? I had a parent, even though we grew up in a single household, and I had some liberties. Like I was able to go to house parties, sleepovers and stuff. But I'm a boy.
Yeah.
So,
that would have been a girl.
But I mean, again, a boy, but my mom still cared about her son.
Of course.
I went to house parties and like I grew up in Compton in LA. I went to Crip parties and blood parties and I was hanging out. But I was partying. I'm not a gangbanger, but they had women there.
You just don't want to be around women, yeah.
So and have fun. But my mom was very concerned about the well-being of her child, and she was like, as long as you're with people that I know, it's a little bit different, and she was a little bit more relaxed, especially as I got older and found that I was more responsible as a young adult. However, things can change. If I was a girl, could I have gone by myself? So again, I was in a typical overbearing household because my mom has another son from a different dad, but like we're 10, 11 years apart, and so I'm her new fixation, right? And so she needs to make sure I'm safe, right?
Of course.
So I couldn't always go to the parties that everybody was going to. I couldn't always do this, So like sometimes I felt like my mom was very harsh on me, and when I look back on it, it has shaped me to be the person I am, for better or worse. But I didn't turn out like I was very conscious. So like when I left I needed to leave my mom's house and live my own life.
Me too.
I was at that point where I was like, okay, again, I could go to school near my home, but I'd be too comfortable. And being comfortable is not necessarily a bad thing, but I wanted to see a little bit more of the world from a different perspective.
I get you.
And be on my own. And so just to circle back on the point, gender does play a role in how we were raised, and I'm a girl dad, so I'm very sensitive to women's issues and stuff.
Of course.
And a lot of things again that we were able to get away with as kids, men and women alike, probably not gonna fly in this generation. Age. But yeah, the overbearing parent. I feel like my mom was overbearing in certain aspects of my life, but it didn't have me wild out. Like I said, when I went to college, yes, I had big fun, but I wasn't like doing anything really crazy that would jeopardize what I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
So like I was like, I'm not trying to go back home, so I need to do whatever I need to do
to stay up here.
Stay up here. So
I get it. I ran out of my parents' house, and it was more because I just stopped wanting to ask him for things. Like I started working as soon as I could start working, and I was always really independent. And as much as my dad was really cool about certain things, he also did shut me down when we wanted to go do some things and stuff. And I hated that I was working and I was going to school and I had to answer to him. Mind you, now I'm like, he did the right thing. But back then I was just like, I can't wait to get out of this house. All these religious stuff I was very deep in religion when I was in high school, but there was just certain things that was driving me crazy. And the way my family, it was just a lot of stuff, and I couldn't wait to get out of the house. So I ran as soon as I was able to go to or try to get into college. I got the acceptance letter to San Jose. I got a couple other acceptance letters, but San Jose, and I was like, that's far enough where I can have my life out here, but then close enough to where I had a younger brother. I have two younger brothers. I'm the oldest, but the youngest brother is Down syndrome, and we were close because we had to help raise him for the first 3 years while my parents were working. We were at home with him a lot of times, so I actually had some on the job experience with a kid before my kid, because my youngest brother, he was born when I was 15. And so we were just, we were helping out with that. So I was really close with him, and I wanted to make sure I was still around him to help him out. When it comes to roles in the household, normally I see that there is someone who is a nurturer, and then there's one that's a disciplinary. Nowadays it seems like it's both parents hold both titles, but it could be different. How does your household work? Are you more of a disciplinary and she's more of a nurturer, or are you more of a nurturer and she's more of a disciplinary? Stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back. The Dream Team are a manhood development program that plays basketball. Their focus is getting the boys to be better individuals and leaders in the community while making them excellent basketball players. While most AAU programs cost over $5,000 a year, they are free for families and provide uniforms, warm-ups, shoes, and educational learning events. So they need money. To donate or hear more about the program, go to www.dreamteamantioch.org. Cheers. Now back to the show. Or is it both?
It's kind of both, but it depends on the situation. Currently, because my daughter is very clingy to mom in certain days or certain times of the day, she can be more nurturing, but it's more of a sense of like, all right, let's.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those. Yeah. Typical routine in our household, I wake up, but she's always calling for mom. Even if I walk in there, it's rare. Like, as of now, she's like not about dad in the morning. Leave me alone. I want to see mommy first. I want to be held. And then after she had her quote unquote kid coffee, whatever whatever that means, she'll settle down and kind of engage with me. Right now, her thing is she has to have the iPad, which is a gift and a curse. She has her own iPad and she watches educational shows, but she's like not hooked on it, but like she has to have it in the morning. And she has
it's like a security blanket kind of thing.
It's not even a security blanket. It's just her new fixation.
Got you. Okay.
And so, in the beginning she was kind of in it and then didn't want to play. So like we have to scale back the timing of it because we kind of use the iPad as a treat. I say that.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. My advice is avoid any technology until you cannot avoid using the technology.
It's kind of how it is right now.
Yeah. So the longer you can hold out, and I say that because like as a parent, you have to be willing to engage with your kids. I get it. The tool is more of a thing you can occupy and you can have some breathing room, but you want to engage with your kids, you want to be present. So I'll get into that part of that conversation a little bit later. But what I'm going to say is like, who's the nurturer, who's the more disciplinary? It just depends on what the situation
is.
So if my wife is like tired, and because she's more allowing of certain things, and this is what I've noticed too about my daughter. She wilds out way more with her mom than she does with me. It's not because I'm a disciplinary. It's more because we have a chill vibe.
Yeah.
So my wife.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She can sleep with her daughter, but not for long. Where if my daughter naps on me, we're out.
That's true.
Or when we're hanging out, she can be watching TV on the couch, laying on me, or chilling, or eating a snack and coloring. Whereas she's climbing on mom's trying to cross stitch and stuff, and she can't do it. So the dynamic's different.
Yeah.
I have my theories on that. Like, just I think personality wise. I think the energy is different between me and my wife, and how my daughter responds, I think it's based on energy. I have no scientific evidence to prove that. That's just my own theory. But like I can be a disciplinary. Like there's times where I'm not gonna talk. Like this morning, for example, my daughter had to have the iPad for some reason, and I know the reason. But I made sure I was like, hey, if you want to watch the iPad, that's fine. But we're gonna eat at the same time, and I'm gonna get you dressed because she'll be like, no, later, and like there's no
later right now.
The only reason I've allowed you later is because I'm on vacation and kind of more relaxed. But when we got to get going,
we need to get going.
Yeah, we're not gonna have this. And I said as soon as you say no, I'm turning the iPad off. A little trick when your kid gets a little bit older, you start planting seeds. So if you need to be somewhere at a certain time, be like, hey, I got a timer, 10 minutes, 5 more minutes, 3 more minutes. So it reinforces the idea that they're going to be
there on the clock.
Instead of them being hit with a random, like, we got to go. And then we're like, no, we don't want to go. We started playing.
Yeah.
So those are little things. And I accept the expectation.
I'm definitely going to use that.
Yeah. So I take the expectation. But again, getting a long-winded answer. Who's a nurturer? Who's a more disciplinary? It depends on the situation. It can be vice versa. There's times where my wife is a disciplinary and I'm the nurturer because when my wife has a meeting and she can't be bothered and she locks the door to the office, you gotta
step in that.
I know what's gonna happen. Sage's gonna cry. She's gonna demand her mom. She's gonna feel like, oh, well, I got dad now, and then she comes to me with her hands up. She needs nurturing. She needs a hug, and that's where I switch into nurturing mode. Dad is here, you know, so we hang out. She's hugging me. She needs comforting. and that touch and that closeness, and then she calms down, and then we can have we can communicate again.
Got you.
So.
So funny so I started giggling a little bit when you were talking about like her in her mommy's phase right now. I didn't think this was gonna happen to me. About 3 weeks ago, we're hanging out, and look, I'm in the day to day with the kid. Like she comes home from work at 5 something, and I'm there.
Recording, right?
Yeah, still recording.
Just make sure.
Yeah, she comes in at night, and we're there together with the baby and stuff like that. And then they go to bed together, and then I'm up working or whatever as much as I can. And I'll maybe take a nap and then wake up again and work until we have to take her to drop her off at the bus stop, or she takes the car. But I'm always up when she wakes up because I'm in the day to day with the baby. Me and him. We have our bonding time. We have a morning, jazz mornings every morning, and like we just have a time together. We have a great time. But as soon as the mommy gets off, he don't want nothing to do with me. He jumps out of my arms to her. He he just has an attitude with me. And normally I don't trip, but like I don't know what happened. I don't know if I was feeling away one day, but 3 weeks ago he did that, and I got mad. I was like visibly upset that he was leaning towards mom so much and didn't want to be around me after me and him had been like, we've been building this bond, and I see him every day and she sees him for a few hours. Why are you going to her and like leaving me? And I said, okay, fine. You guys go ahead. And she's like, are you mad? I was like, I don't want to, I'm just going to go to the room. I'll be back in a second. And she started laughing, and then I shook it. I was like, what's wrong with you? But in the moment I was just like, why are you treating me like I'm chopped liver right now?
Okay, so here's the thing. Especially if your kid has been with you majority of the day and they don't see their other parent, they're gonna naturally be like, oh, mom,
yeah, she's like a dessert, yeah.
So they're gonna gravitate to mom, which is fine.
Yeah,
you probably need a break.
Yeah.
So look at that as a blessing, but at the same time,
I do.
Yeah. So there's times in the morning, like there's times like the last vacation I was at home, my daughter was super about me being at the house.
Mm-hmm.
But now the situation switched. So I said my wife is the morning person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the bedtime story guy.
Got you. Okay, that's why it's good to have.
We play.
Yeah.
Like, we have horseplay. We rough house.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife always does the thing, but my wife gets more tired. I have more energy, so we can jump in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
She climbs on me. I'm like carrying her around the house. We have fun, right? So at night, sometimes she's super anti-bath, but with me. And she was like, "Oh, let mommy." She wants mommy to do everything, right?
Yeah.
But mom's tired, so that's when I have to turn on hey, be a little bit more stern. Like, hey, we gotta take a bath. Bring your iPad and watch it. While I take a bath, we'll take a quick bath, right? But most of the time, she'll be like, "Dad, read me a story. 5 books. Fluff the pillows. Fluff the blanket." Where my wife, she comes in, and she'll tell my wife, "No, leave."
So you got your time.
Yeah, we all have our time.
Yeah.
So I don't take it. Not that you're taking it personally, but
I normally don't. It was just that one moment. I just had a moment. I was like, bro.
I mean, yeah, I'm human. Like my kid doesn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. I'm like, all right, so I'll just let her do whatever. Then when my wife is like, hey, I need you to take care of Sage, she goes in her office. Then
I gotta handle it.
Yeah, I gotta handle it. So and vice versa. There's times where I need to go, and my kid's super clingy, and it's cute because it's like, oh, my kid's close. She doesn't want me to leave. She wants to hang. So as a new parent, you're like, oh man, but I want to go practice. I got to this is my time. So.
Yeah, and it's important. That time's important. When you guys found out, that your wife was pregnant, and you guys got your ducks in a row prior to the baby getting here, do you think that did you feel at the moment that you guys were totally prepared for anything, or did you hit a lot of curveballs when the baby came out? And it seems like you probably hit some curveballs and you had to figure it out on the fly. But I know people who were really financially set that originally they thought they had it together.
Let me pause you there. Who's ever prepared?
I don't think anybody's prepared. Exactly. But I've heard people act like with their chest, say it with their chest, like, oh, I had everything. We were ready. We were our plans. We had everything locked in with the baby. Okay,
I'll say this. I can tell you things went haywire, and I can ask you this: when you went to the hospital when your wife or partner was going into labor, you had a birthing plan, right?
Yeah.
Did you follow that birthing plan? Okay, there you go. That's your first expectations of audibling for being a parent, right? You do what's best for the child.
Yeah.
No one's ever prepared You can be as close to being prepared, but life is, and a kid is going to throw a curveball at you. When you think you have a routine, a different routine pops up, and you have to adjust and audible and take on this new challenge, right? Mm-hmm. No one's ever fully prepared. If that was the case, then being a parent wouldn't be so dynamic.
I feel that.
You get what I'm saying?
I feel that.
Were we prepared? We got as prepared as we could. Mm-hmm. You know, we had, and kudos to my wife for prepping myself, and I was reading some stuff too. But she had she bought a subscription to what to expect as a parent, but
we have
before labor, or excuse me, during labor, before you go to the hospital, and post. And I think I still have it, a bunch of notes of what to expect. You know, if that, like birthing plans, or if you see black poop, don't freak out. It's like stuff. Yeah, so stuff like that, right? And like now, as we've gotten a little bit more experience, your parental skills kind of, you got to trust your gut.
I feel that.
You know, you don't know how to be a parent, but you kind of have an innate ability to figure.
There's some instincts there.
Yeah, because you were raised by a parent, you understand certain nuances go hand in hand. You I kind of know how to do this. You know, like, so I give you an example. I was the first one to change a diaper. I was the first one to get pooped and peed on, right? But I went in knowing how to do that and swaddling, right? So I was the first. My wife was in the room recovering, and you know, she just wasn't able to do it.
Of course, so you had to jump in and handle it.
Like, oh, we got to change the diaper. Who's going to do it first? I just did it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I mean, it's not a big deal, but who wants to deal with somebody's poop? You know, right?
Of course.
So, again, as a parent, you're never prepared for anything. You can only prepare as much as you can, and you just want to be aware of things so it doesn't freak you out, because there'll be a curveball where there's something happening, you don't know what's going to happen, right? And you got to adjust and figure it out and get the information as quick as possible and process that, and then become more experienced.
In real time. I feel that.
Never, anybody that tells you they're prepared is lying.
I just had to ask because because I've seen some of these parents say that, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw it in there and see what he says about it, because I figured, I mean, you're pretty level-headed about things. You understand how things can change, and
I'm learning.
Yeah.
Like I have a fundamental understanding of certain things, and being a parent, your kid teaches you something every day.
You ain't lying.
Right? So, you know, again, we had a game plan. We had some things that a lot of parents have went through, and we written those things down, and we read it over and discussed, and so it wouldn't come as no shock if we encountered it. But again, you know, who accounts for when your kid's first time being sick?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, you get used to it, you know, and it becomes way of life. Wait till your kid gets into daycare. You're gonna have a sick kid every other week. So, those are the things that like are challenges as new parents until they become a little bit more self-sufficient and things get a little bit smoother. A lot of parents used to tell me, "This time will pass," because everything that
it passes.
Well, you feel everything that's happening feels like it's a long time, and it's really been like a week.
Yeah.
Or a few days. You know, your kid's teething, not sleeping at night. Oh man, it's been it's only been like
3 days, dude. So, straight up.
You know, or like, you said something earlier. Your kid sleeps in the same room?
Yeah, he sleeps with us, and we've been trying to.
So okay, hold on. Let me ask you another question. Is there another room where the kid? Is there a nursery?
Yes.
Okay.
He's in there right now.
How old's your kid?
7 months as of last Saturday.
Okay. Happy 7 months.
Thank you.
This advice was told to me a month into being a new dad. As soon as you can get your kid to sleep in another room by themselves, you do it.
Yeah.
Immediately.
We're trying.
There's no try. There's doing.
Yeah.
You have to do this. This goes back to remembering you're a couple first.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You're a partner to your better half.
Yeah.
Having a kid in a room prevents the obvious things from happening, but like being a couple again.
Yeah, talking and like doing couple stuff. Yeah.
We were forced to do that because we have hardwood floors, and I'm not trying to sneak into my house like Shaggy from Scooby Doo. So the kid has when she was younger, she had what do you call it? She would jerk her to sleep, but there is a term for it.
Oh yeah, he did that too.
So swaddling.
Wake himself. Yeah, we had the swaddling help. Yeah.
So But once we figured, we were always trying to do it, but we had a nursery set up. We had the bassinet in our room. The kid never slept in the same bed. Like maybe a hand, I can count on one hand how many times our child slept in the same bed. Yeah, one I wouldn't allow it. We both wouldn't allow it because we need our rest. So they slept in the bassinet. But once we figured out, oh, you can take a nap in the room by yourself, and we were pretty lucky. Sage just wanted to sleep in the room by herself.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's not to say that there were times where there's stages. Yes, she can sleep by herself, and we left her down there, but we still had to sometimes come in there because she'd wake up in the middle of the night because she was hitting milestones, pulling herself up, figuring out. She had to understand why dark is dark. Because her dark was daytime, you know, and vice versa.
Like, what is going on? Yeah,
day, but be awake at night. So we had to quote unquote sleep train them, for lack of a better term, and understand that it wasn't perfect, and then. We eventually got to the point where she could sleep in the room. We could put her down. There's no fuss or fighting. The fussing and fighting is different. And there was a block of time where my child would sleep from 7 to 7.
What?
Yeah. Now my child goes to bed at
my gosh.
She can go to bed as early as 8:30 or 10 or 11, like because she's super anti. Going to bed lately, so that's a new thing.
That's him. So he's always been like that since the beginning. He's anti-sleeping.
So when he gets a little bit older, you're gonna have to figure out some sleep training and put them on a pattern of consistency.
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah. It's too again,
as much as I can. I'm doing
early.
it right now.
It's too early
because he changes up on me so fast. Like he'll be rocking for a while, and all of a sudden he'll just change up and he'll throw the whole thing out the window.
Yeah, it's too early. I will wait if you want to really start sleep training. In the other room, you were gonna have to do it probably like when he's almost a year, maybe the 9th, 10th month. You can start introducing those. In my opinion, you can read up on this.
Yeah.
There's no set rule on how it works.
Just depends
on
the
one
kid.
thing that's consistent about being a parent. There are no consistent rules.
Hell no, there isn't.
So, as soon as you can get your child into the room by themselves to sleep, boom, the easier life will get. I don't know if you're breastfeeding or dream feeding.
Still, yeah.
Yeah. There's night feeds and stuff. So
that's what it is. Yeah.
So until they can, when your doctor says, oh, they can sleep without having to wake up for a feed, one, you can get your hours back to what you want to do, take advantage of it,
get some
get
work
more
done.
rest, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of things can open up for you once they're able to sleep a good 10 to 12 hours. But right now, she'll wake up, like sometimes we don't set the alarm, and it's easier when one of us is on vacation or one of us is like not having to be pressed to go to work early. So we used to set an alarm. Now if we got to go somewhere, we'll set an alarm and get her up. But for the most part, she kind of wakes up on her own, you know.
Unless she knows her set schedule. Yeah.
She'll wake up around 7ish, 8ish. Sometimes she'll wake up, fuss a little bit, and go back to sleep until about 9.
Interesting. Okay.
However, the bedtime that used to be 7:30 got pushed up to 8:30, and they got pushed to 9:30. Now it's between 9:30 and 10:30.
She
which is crazy.
Not having it.
Yeah, so that's our new issue in potty. She's potty trained, but she's regressed in certain areas. Like she just won't say anything, and she'll just
let it go.
Herself, so
stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back.
I'm the author of the Man Book. The Man Book was created so that every man has a chance to become great. If you look at the stats, men that grew up without a father have a harder chance trying to become great because of their father's choices and their father's choices. The Man Book is here to break that cycle so that every man has that chance.
The Man Book, helping boys become men with something as simple as tying a tie. Also being a father, fashion, how to love. This is a book that you need on your shelf. It will help you and it will help people that you love. Get it by going to dreamteamantioch.org. Cheers. Now back to the show. What's something about Sage that makes you so proud? Like something about, maybe it's a personality trait, something that she does that, I don't know, like what's something that makes you proud about her? Maybe she's athletic. I don't know. It could be anything.
She doesn't look like me. No.
Please cut it out.
What is that I'm proud of Sage is that I think she takes somewhat of an interest in the things that I kind of like to do. Like,
Nice.
I got her on a skateboard once or twice. She's kind of into it a little bit. She's kind of into like playing with the turntables. I'm definitely getting her into jiu-jitsu, but like I'm not putting her in a class. Right, she's too young. She
Just teaching her some stuff, yeah.
I don't teach her anything. I just see that she has an innate ability to do things within the jiu-jitsu realm that I'm like, okay, these skills translate, right? So, and I take her and I plant seeds. I bring her when we have open mats, come to hang out. I'm not telling her to roll. She just comes on the mats and just tumbles.
That's cool.
So, like, those are the things that I'm kind of stoked on. I'm also stoked that her advancement in picking things up and learning things through daycare or whatever. Like, she's starting to formulate something. So I'm like, wow, you're actually... It's a trip. Even to this day, as a parent, I'm 3 years in the game, and I still get amazed at how my daughter can rationalize thoughts and be logical in a sense, and say things you're like, I didn't know you... Like,
You was even on that. Yeah.
So those things I'm kind of like, I get pumped on, and I still get amazed that like one day you look at a picture, your newborn looks like a little alien, and all of a sudden she's like a little adult
person. Yeah, man.
You're like, wow, that's crazy. So there's a plethora of things that make me proud of, but I think the most thing that I can recently come up with in my head is like how she picks up on things that I like to do, and how she just learns new things.
She picks things up.
Yeah, she picks things up for better or worse, but learning and acquiring knowledge and applying it.
That's dope.
Because I think parents, this is my own opinion about this, I think parents underestimate how a kid retains information and acquires knowledge and can apply that knowledge so quickly.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that with my own kid. And I mean, again, it's only 7 months, but I know how my mind works. And sometimes he'll do something or he'll be analyzing something, and I know exactly how his wheels are turning, and everybody else just won't get it. But I know how his mind works. I can see him like trying to figure something out, and then all of a sudden he'll just get up and just start moving towards that thing to try to do whatever he was thinking in his head. And I'm like, okay, I see it already. Like he's analyzing, you know, kind of like, I mean, I'm a writer, so that's what I do. I analyze everything, and watching him analyze has just been really pretty dope. What's one of the toughest situations Sage just put you in? Now, my friend said his was a diaper issue. They had a diaper blowout in the middle of a trip, and that was a crazy one. I've heard all types of ones. So,
the only time it gets crazy is when in my opinion, is when you're unprepared for something. I've had I was the first one that had the explosion diaper. It was funny because my wife was like, "Oh, you're gonna be cool." I was like, "Yeah, we'll be fine." She exploded. It looked like she got shot. Like, she was in a
everywhere.
It was just like, I was like, "Oh my god!" So you're like, "How do I tackle it?" But I mean, it was the first explosion like that. But she's had an explosion diaper before. Wait, repeat the question again.
What is the toughest situation that she's put you in?
Toughest situation she's put me in is when, and it wasn't necessarily her fault. It was actually my fault. Two things, and she almost got hurt.
Oh no!
Again, as a parent,
it's worse. I mean, things just thinking about.
So she was running around with chopsticks, and she like fell, and it was like it jammed her in her mouth because she wanted to keep it in her mouth. That wasn't the worst. The worst, in my opinion, is when she's congested. We have a saline solution, right?
She has asthma, or
no, flushing.
Gotcha.
Kids get sick all the time, right? We use a saline solution, and how we prep it is we boil water, put the saline solution, and put it in a certain type of cup.
Okay.
At the same time, at this particular period, we also had a gnat problem. Our compost was just attracting gnats, and we had what do you call it? Vinegar.
Okay.
So we had put vinegar in the same cup. I took the cup, put it in a saline solution bottle, and we doing our normal routine. I can speak about this now because everything's cool. And we flushed her with vinegar. And I've never seen her react in a way that she thought her feet were on fire. She's like, it burns. And we're just like,
What's going on?
Because she does fight a lot.
Yeah.
She does not like to be flushed.
Yeah.
Right? Never did. Even before this incident. But she was just like, it burns, it's fire. She's going crazy. It's ramping up, right? And we walking out, I was like, what is going on? And I was like, yeah, I'll put the saline solution in. My wife looked at me, she's like, that wasn't saline. It was something else. That right there, first real freak out emergency, but we're trying to be calm. We're Googling, how does vinegar affect a kid?
The nasal, yeah.
Obviously, vinegar it's not the worst, but it ain't the best. And we just thank God it wasn't anything crazier. So we took it in the emergency room. They checked out. It basically just opened. She was just flushed out.
Yeah.
But it did affect her nostrils because we gave her a good flush. And so it took her a whole day. We kept her out of school. She's super weary about it now for obvious reasons. But we tell her, because she was like, no fire. We was like, no, it's not fire. But as a parent, because this comes down to having good rest and being aware and paying attention. We were a little bit. This was our first real scare where I was like, I was mad at myself,
of course,
for not being on top of it.
I feel you.
You know, it took one moment
to change,
and figure got to be on it all the time. Not to say we weren't. It's just I got lax, right? And thank God it wasn't bleach. Thank God, obviously I would have smelled it because again. The giveaway is you can smell vinegar. Yeah. But we had been vinegar in the whole house.
So everything smelled like vinegar.
Vinegar, right? And so I just took what I thought was solution, put it in there, and the saline minutes. We went to the hospital, and they have to ask questions. Are you abusive? Blah, blah, blah. Like, nah. Crazy accident, right? Once that whole situation, she came back, it went down. We gave her something to, suppress the pain or whatever was going on with her nose. But the doctor was like, she's fine, nothing's crazy.
She's gonna be okay.
She can swallow, no issues, just monitor, just keep her home, give her whatever she wants, right? Cool. So there you have it. That was the one instance where I feel like I was
scared. I was
a little bit scared, but I was more mad.
Yeah.
That I let my guard down.
Not looking forward to anything like that, but I know it's gonna happen eventually, something like that.
You do the best you can to prep yourself. Quote unquote preparation. Prep yourself around the house, making sure you got everything, but you can't be perfect. Like I said, my child one time fell, hit the edge of the bed, could have knocked her eye out, hit her forehead. She ran around the house, jumping around the couch with chopsticks in her mouth, jabbed her throat. Luckily, they were plastic chopsticks.
But still,
again,
yeah,
these are things. There's a fine line between letting your kid figure it out and really put hands on it, right? So,
what do you do that's just for you, outside of your mate? Just something that makes you happy. That's outside of just one thing that you do that's just for you.
I do a lot of things that are just for me, to be honest. My hobbies.
Okay. What's one of them that you?
Jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Especially, again, I had a child during COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of my hobbies require me to be in a specific area.
Got you.
So the best I could do at the time during COVID was play video games, read, get lost in music. To be honest, the one thing that is crucial for me, even if it's not hobbies or anything, is having quiet time.
I feel that.
Space to think. There was a time, and I still do this from time to time, but I'll come home and I'll sit in my car for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Before you get in.
And my wife was like, why do you do that? And it was hard to explain in the beginning, but I went to counseling, therapy for myself. Because there was a lot going on in 2020. There
was a lot.
Police brutality, being a parent, COVID, being trapped in the house.
We were having conversations about some stuff, so yeah I know.
So once I was able to formulate an idea of how to communicate that, it was basically to say that it's the one time where I'm not dad, I'm not husband, I'm not provider. I'm just me in a car listening to my own thoughts. So when I was going back to work, I didn't mind going back to work for the commute because that 35, 40 minute drive was a block of time where I can just not do anything and not have to worry about anything except getting from point A to point B.
Got you.
So that's one of the key things for me. And then secondary is being able to feel like I can still do things that I did before having a child, because I do a lot of selfish things. Like I want to go to jiu-jitsu, I got to work out. I want to talk to friends in person. Not to say that my wife doesn't do it. She has different things she's into, but for myself,
these are important to you.
we have a schedule. Now, granted, a lot of parents used to say, new vet parents be like, "Oh man, things are going to change. You're going to be giving this up." I'm like, nah, I'm not giving up anything. I have to adjust.
Yeah, just gotta adjust.
Do I skate as much as I do? It used to, not as much. That could change. If my daughter gets in the skateboard, I'll be skating a lot more.
Yeah.
But there are things that I needed. Being able to go work out and do jujitsu was a stress reliever. Being able to go out and hang out with my friends for dinner and allow my wife to go out and get out of the house.
I can see that.
Like for me, I take my daughter with me occasionally. Like I went to a flag football game that got canceled this weekend, but the whole point of that is to give my wife some space, so she can
give her some time.
3 to 5 hours of just, she can watch a Korean drama, she can cross stitch, she can be on her phone, doing searching, scrolling, whatever. She don't have to do anything else, without having Sage on her. And again, being a girl dad, I kind of look at it as a cool thing because I get to bond with my daughter.
Yeah, bring her around,
hang out. But it was more her. I was like, she's gonna meet my friends and hang out and watch flag football. They got cut short because it was cold and no one showed up because it got canceled or whatever. In general, it's my hobbies that I do. If I can do my hobbies and feel like that I'm able to still do them at a rate that's satisfactory to myself, I'm okay.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you already said that your father wasn't around because he passed early. Did you have any father figures growing up? And if you did, was there any piece of advice they gave you that you have used with your own parenting? Like an uncle or, grandpa, whatever.
I had street dudes that I'm not saying I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. Let me first get that for Look, I grew up in a blood neighborhood. I grew up around Fruittown, Piru. I went to school at Centennial High School. I went to Vanguard Middle School. I also lived in a Crip neighborhood. I knew a lot of Crips. Blah, blah. I knew hood dudes, right? I am not a gangbanger, nor do I claim to be tough. I do martial arts. And so with that said, I did have street cats, East Coast and West Coast, that knew my mom and looked out for me and would give me advice because they saw the potential in me, I'm assuming, right?
Okay.
I remember a dude named Jimmy Session. He was from New York, Rochester, New York, and he was, quote unquote, with the movement, right? But he was cool. My mom was cool with him. He knew how to code switch. Like my mom knew he smoked weed, and he was sleeping with women, whatever.
Yeah, he was doing his thing.
But she knew he looked out for me, right? And I don't know if there was anybody throughout that life that gave me any tips about parenting. There might be one dude. He was a father of like 5. He was kind of an alcoholic, but he would drop a gem on me from time to time.
Gotta love those dudes, man.
Yeah.
It's always one.
I can't even recall what he said to me, but he said something to me that I feel like translated for me being a parent. He was one of the few dudes that gave me a gem for future me, where the other older parental folks kind of gave me more knowledge for more of the current, right now, right? But yeah, I can't recall too many people that gave me knowledge. I think my best teacher is observing and experiencing with my family members that are dads.
Gotcha.
Go through with their kids. And in particular, I have an uncle who does not have the best relationship with his daughter.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of relatives and non-relatives that have daddy issues or mom issues. I take notes as a parent
of what not to do.
What not to do and repeat the same mistakes, right? And those are the best teachers, because again, they'll say, "Oh, wait till she gets older," and I'm like, "Nah." That's my challenge to myself.
Yeah.
More of my rebellious side of saying, "I'm not gonna be you. I'm gonna try to do the best." Because I don't. At the end of the day, we both as parents, my wife and I, we have this discussion about. We want our kid to be able to come to us about anything. Cliches as it might sound.
I know what you mean.
But you don't want them hiding things from you. So if my child wants to learn about drugs, I'll teach them about drugs.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to know about sex and men and women, look.
We'll have a sit down. We was out here doing,
I'm gonna tell you. Like, I'm not gonna hide it. This is the reality of it. You know, levels, tiers.
I'm the same. I feel everything you're saying. I'm with you on there. Continue. I'm sorry. I feel that
it's the honest truth because again, you know, you talk about the overbearing parent. My wife was from an overbearing household, and there was things. She had a wild out phase. You know, figuring things out. We all had that phase. We've been in households where they feel like they're free. They can do things. You know, like. But I also was conscientious of who I am as a person. Yeah. Even at a young age of 17.
Me too.
Like, I grew up in the DARE era. Like, you know, I've had my experimentation in college with psychedelics and weed and all this, but I knew never to try coke, crack, you know, stuff like that. Like, I seen Pookie from New Jack. I was like, oh, cool.
Not for me.
From the Reagan era, that's just not me. So, again, to each their own. Every situation works. Like, I come from an era where I got whoopings. Do I want to whoop my child? Nah.
Yeah, I feel you.
You know, I came out okay, but I knew people got whooped. They turned into block monsters.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
It's not necessarily to say what happened to me and how I was raised is right to keep that culture and tradition. There are certain values and traditions that I take from our past and apply it now, but a lot of those things we have the power and the onus is upon ourselves to cultivate our children in a way that's better.
Agreed. We have more information too now.
Yeah.
I feel like they were really trying to wing it back in the day. They didn't have like even though Google's not always right, but they didn't have Google. They didn't have YouTube that you can, and they didn't have these like groups of like parenting groups that you can just ask a question and it's going to come to you like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, certain communities in Africa are communities.
Yeah, of course, and even in churches there was like that. But I'm talking about like where you could be talking to someone in Africa or like across. You know what I mean? Like
what I mean by that is that like you said there were no communities or groups. Well, I mean, we come from an era where we could sleep over at the neighbor's house.
That's for damn sure.
Because that was communicated in the neighborhood. Your mom knew the name,
the parents. Yep.
You can't do that nowadays.
That's for damn sure.
So it's just different. Now I'm not saying that was right because we still had some monsters.
Yep.
But what I'm saying was it was a different era where the community knew each other and felt comfortable. So there was a communal thing going on, right?
Back then, yeah.
But things were different. Like I always look at my mom, or I'd be like, "Yo, I think grandma had like 10 kids. I got one." I'm like,
nervous.
I'm good. I hung up the banner. I'm done. Like I don't need any more. It wasn't bad. It's just I don't want to go through that again.
I feel that
because it's
taxing on your body too, and your mental, and
I mean, it's so many things
emotionally.
Like, yeah, because you want your kid to be able to sleep throughout the night, right? That doesn't happen until like almost a year.
I know,
right? You don't want to have to feed them at night because, again, while my wife was pregnant with child, I had no connection to. I didn't care to touch the stomach.
Yeah.
I didn't care for like to taking it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I care.
Of course.
That, but I was like super distant, right? Until my kid came. Any dad who's gone through this or have had a child will tell you this. It's a euphoric feeling. For me personally, it happened in like with an overwhelming sense of emotion from joy or shock, joy, contempt. To flat out bawling.
Yeah.
Like all that happened within 5 minutes. It was a beautiful moment to release.
Yeah.
Right? Only parents, especially new parents, go through this. Right? So that's when I started to feel more connected to my kid. And it was the opposite from my wife.
Really?
Yeah. So
she had been feeling connected the whole time and then
the pregnancy. And then her body just went through this traumatic experience. And she's gotten this creature. She's separated from this creature, this baby.
Yeah.
And now she's in feeling some type of way because we had so many things with latching and figuring out our schedules and not sleeping and me not being able to do in the beginning stages. If my wife chose to, if we just said formula, I could be more helpful. But my wife wanted to do breastfeeding. And it was frustrating because one, she wasn't able to do it, and because our child had lost some weight, she thought she failed as a parent.
Yeah,
but she didn't understand that one, it was a latching, and she had a tongue tie. We didn't fail; we just were unaware of what was going on.
Yeah, you didn't have all the information.
She was like, "I'm not feeding my child. I'm being a neglectful parent.
She
No.
felt the same way too.
So I always remind parents, new parents especially, one, don't compare yourself to other parents. You're gonna make mistakes. Nothing's perfect. There is no. Don't follow the percentiles. Just like, again, if your child's healthy,
That's all that matters.
that's all that matters,
Yep.
right? If they're not talking, they'll eventually get there. Your job as a parent is do the best your ability to put all the information out there and do all the necessary things to get them where they need. My child was a walker before a talker. She still doesn't talk in front of people. Like, we have my in-laws was like, why is she so shy? I just say she don't like older people. She don't like, she just vibes differently.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? So but you get comfortable. Like, I always tell people, my friends, I'll be like, let her come to you.
Yeah.
And she'll eventually go over there and
Being
hang
cool
out.
with you and stuff like that.
So all that said, like, my wife felt a certain type of way, and I'm like, yeah, just, you got to let that go.
Stop. The biggest thing is the comparing.
Yeah, don't compare it. Don't even compare it. Just, look, is your child healthy? Is your child being fed? Doesn't matter how they're getting fed. I don't care. Feed them through a straw. As long as they're getting nutrients.
I was doing the finger thing for a minute. I was like feeding them with my pinky. Yep.
You do what you have to do. Again, that's why I said your first plan failed. The birth plan failed.
Yeah, it sure did.
So you're gonna have a lot of plans and prep time, but
You better be able to. You better be okay with the audible. Yep.
Yeah. So my wife wanted to breastfeed for such a long time and do it at her own pace, and sometimes she had trouble pumping milk, or sometimes she had trouble maintaining a stash. And then you talk to some parents, they're not even able to do what you're doing. So feel privileged.
Yeah, it's true.
You can't be the mom that's pumping out like a factory.
Yeah.
But you're able to do it.
You're still able to get them. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's
and
the hybrid thing. That's why we got the hybrid, because it's like, you're not failing. You're fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you take a breath and take a step back. But then the thing about me as a dad, I wasn't able to do much but show support, make sure my wife was propped up while she was breastfeeding. She was the one that had to get up, not me. Right?
Yep. I know the feeling.
Until I started being able to feed my child with a bottle and giving her solids and stuff like that, I felt like I was, like, even though I was more connected, I wasn't connected like my wife
That's
was.
That's it right there. That's their time too.
Skin to skin, you know? So anytime I had time to do skin to skin, I would do it as a bond. But like I said, me being like, because people are like, oh, did you want a boy or a girl? Well, at first I was like, I always want a healthy child. But if I had to choose, I was like, I always wanted a girl. I thought my at the time my first child was going to be a girl. Everybody said a boy. I was like, no, she's going to be a girl. And there's nothing like the bond between a daughter and her dad.
Yeah.
So
that's for sure. My last question I got for you is the one I ask every single person, and you've dropped so many freaking nuggets on this podcast, vlog, whatever you want to call it, this show. Because I am a new father, what piece of advice would you give me?
patience.
Patience. Okay, I like that.
Patience. That's the one thing that was told to me from another parent. Patience.
I never thought. This is the thing. I always thought I was patient before.
Patience. It's so many things, dude. Like,
But I was not patient before. I thought I was. It's a different thing with the kid, because you're being patient with not just the kid, but everything else. Everything else that can go wrong, everything else that could knock you off your path. You got to be patient with everything. Meditation's been helping me a lot with that, bro. I do it every day.
You find whatever thing that gets you into a place where you can function as a successful parent and successful partner to your lady, right?
Yeah.
So, because again, at the end of the day, it's you, your partner, and the child. And you guys got to be, as adults, in a good headspace to formulate and move as a successful unit. Make sure you're on the same page, right? Patience is one of the more important things, in my opinion. Having healthy communication, an understanding, being heard. There's so many nuanced things, dude. There's a list, right? It's not just one thing.
It's a bunch of things.
And it differs from person to person. But overall, being patient, allowing grace. So that would be the one parting advice I can give you as a fellow parent, because I don't think we're patient with the situation and taking the breath. But again, for me personally, being put in a situation during the COVID pandemic and being trapped in the house taught a lot about myself and my partner and us as a unit being parents, and it forced us to face some harsh realities of our situation and come to terms with our situation.
Yeah.
As a parent, you have to be to come to terms with certain things. Like I said, again, I don't skate as much as I like to. I still skate.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do it as much. My board is in my trunk, right? But I've chosen hierarchy. Again, what's important?
What's the most important? And then
jiu-jitsu, being able to have quiet time.
Yeah.
Vice versa. I've been building up equity for my wife to just go out. She can leave the house for a week, vacation. And I'm cool with it. I can. My daughter's hair is braided. I can maintain that. I can actually do my daughter's hair in a few different styles.
That's dope. That's dope.
So not anything
girl,
crazy.
Girl dad though, for real.
I can part the hair. I can do it in a little booth. I can give her a little ponytail. I can do a few little things that can get me through the week, right? I'm able to feed my child, because that was a big thing. Learning how to feed your child, making sure you're prepped. Now my kid loves snacks. I'm like, all right, well, here's a trick. When your child gets old enough to say they're eating or they don't want to eat, and they say, I'm not hungry, but then they have to go to bed, and like all of a sudden they're hungry, that's when you slide into veggies.
Gotcha.
Like,
oh, you hungry? Here you go.
Veggies.
Let's see how hungry you really are.
So I found out my daughter likes to eat veggies right when she has to go to bed. And so I'll have a balance.
I'm using that too.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. I like that one.
That's something later down the line. But again, getting back to the original question, I think for me, the first thing that comes to mind is being patient. You have to be patient. It's going to be frustrating with your child or frustrating with your partner. You have to be patient.
Yeah. I like that. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no
thank
problem.
you.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank you for doing this with me, and I want to thank you guys for being into this conversation. Cam, you are a wonderful human being, and I really do appreciate this from you.
Hey, man, each one teach one. I'm glad you had me aboard. I hope whatever I said, you get some type of nugget and apply it to your own parenting style in a manner that helps you and your partner and raise your beautiful child.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Till next time, guys. Cheers.